Hello. Today's video is on slow speed cornering and how to build your confidence, because I know a lot of people find themselves struggling to do specific turns such as left or right only, you know, so it might not just be that you struggle with corners in general. I mean, that may be the case, but I'm just trying to cover all bases here. So we'll go over pulling away first, pulling away at junctions, and then we'll move on to the sorts of things you can do on the bike to help improve its stability and make you feel more secure whilst riding it. Here at a junction, and one of the first things I'm going to show you is how to approach a junction to set yourself up best for the direction you're turning. Sounds simple, but it also kind of depends on what you're doing and what sort of bike you have. For example, if you've got a big heavy bike, this is a VFR, it tends to be pretty wallowy at slow speed and it's fairly top heavy. Now, it also has linked brakes. What this means is that if I press the front, the piston pushes onto the disc, and that causes, because the disc is rotating, that causes the whole caliper assembly to twist with it. And there's another piston up here, and when that pushes on that, by twisting the caliper, that sends fluid to the rear brake and also brakes on the rear. It works vice versa as well. What we're going to do, if you find yourself on a bike with linked brakes, don't fear it. It works 80% the same as a normal bike with individual brakes, just when you're hard braking it will apply to the other. So don't think I'm on a bike with linked brakes and therefore I can't do slow speed with maneuvering with either brake, because it's relative to the force applied. Now, if you find yourself coming up to a junction really hard and you're applying brakes that hard, then perhaps you should be stopping at that junction. Don't go flying out. Let's begin, I guess. We'll come up to this junction, I'll turn around, go back up the road, I'll come up to this junction, we'll do a right turn, and I'll show you how to approach that corner to set you up best for obviously taking that right turn and doing it comfortably without wondering, ooh, I might tip, or how do I approach it, because I mean there's a corner over there as well, if you can see. How do I approach it? How do I get myself set up after this junction? So let's get to it. Here we are approaching the junction. Now I'm going to be going right, so obviously first things first, we indicate, we check our mirrors, do the usual. As we're approaching, rear brake and angle the bike from the center of the road over to the corner of the side that you want to go. So we're going right at this junction, so the bike is now slightly angled over to the right, not crossing the center line because we don't want to become an obstruction to the other side of the road, but we have now angled the bike over to the direction we're going. So we're going right, the bike's angled right. Slowly let the clutch out, find the binding point, apply some throttle. We're going to get it about 2,500 RPM, and we can let the clutch out and release the rear brake slowly. You'll feel the bike start to move. You can experiment, keep the clutch out in the same position, keep the throttle in the same position. When you're ready to move away, let off that rear brake and it'll start to move. I've not touched the throttle. If you feel it start to slip, you can let go of the clutch just a little bit and you'll find the bike starts to move away more. Now let's try that again, and this time, because I know a lot happens in one go, this time I will explain what I'm doing as I do it, because that was just covering clutch and throttle control and approaching the corner. So now we need to think, right, how are we angling after the corner, and also how do we position ourselves once we've made the turn. Approaching the corner again, same thing, we're in first gear, clutch is all the way in. We're stopping because it's the end of the road, checking both ways. Clutch out, find the binding point, apply a bit of throttle so the bike's not going to stall, you've got no worry about it stalling. The clutch is already biting, I'm holding it here on the rear brake. Now we're ready to move away. We can see the throttle's applied. We've got about 2000 RPM here. The bike wants to pull. I can feel it pulling. Now, off the rear brake, and it moves. Aim for the centre of the road, trail the rear brake. When I say trailing, I mean keeping your foot on the brake as you're cornering. And we're away. Practice makes perfect. But if you can, and you've got an area like this around near yourself, just go to an industrial estate after all the businesses close, and you'll find that mostly it's empty. You might see one or two learners around for the same reason. So, let's talk about exiting the corner and what we're doing there to keep the bike balanced and maintain our confidence. Now I mentioned about trailing that rear brake. When we make that right turn, I'm keeping that rear brake on the entire time. I'm just letting off enough to get the bike going. If I need to slow down or I need to speed up, I can do that with a rear brake. The clutch and the throttle stay in the same position until I'm ready to release the clutch and continue on. So, aim the bike, and I'll tell you about what I'm doing here. Once the bike's begun to move, and we're aiming out over to the right, this is an interesting part because my left foot stays down. I take it off the floor obviously because I'm pulling away, but what I'm doing is just keeping my foot out there just to maintain my balance, because if I'm moving parts of my body around whilst also trying to deal with the corner, it's potentially going to put me out of balance, because the bike is basically an extension of your body. If you move, it'll move. Foot off the floor and just keep it hovered above the floor. Don't put it back on the peg just yet. We'll do the same as we covered before. We'll pull away. For the centre of the road, my foot is out, and now I can put my foot on the peg, clutch out, off the brake, we're away. Easy. Or at least it'll become easy with practice. Let's do that corner one more time, but this time we're going left. Now the reason I'm using that rear brake all the time is because when you apply the rear brake, it makes the bike want to stand up. It brings it upright, and that's obviously your safest position, that's your most confident position. And if you need to apply brake and you mash on the rear brake, the bike will just stand up. Pretty much 90% of the time it'll want to stand up. Now we're going left. Left indicator on. Angle round. We're at the end of the road, so we'll stop. Check. We're clear. Same thing. My foot's on the floor, and as soon as we start to move away, I'll lift it up. Keep the foot on the rear brake. Clutch out. Find that biting point. Apply throttle. Let go of the rear brake slowly. Foot still out. Right, we're going. Foot on the foot peg. Indicator off, release the clutch. Good to go. With practice, that'll become second nature. Riding a bike becomes a reflex. It sounds funny, but you don't think about it at all. It just happens. Everything just happens. The most important thing you can do is to relax. If you start tightening up on the bike, it'll start squirming. It'll start doing things you don't want it to do. Just relax. Easy on the handlebars, keep calm, practice, and it'll do what you want it to do. It's the same principle for U-turns. If I now wanted to use this junction, I know I shouldn't, but there's no cars around and I want to do a U-turn. Say I've just passed a building that I needed to go to, I needed to do a U-turn. Perfect. As we've been doing the turns, we're using the rear brake to keep our balance, keep us upright and maintain position in the road. We can do that for a U-turn. You're going to have to be able to do a U-turn for your CBT and during your full motorcycle test. And you'll have to do it within lines as well. Usually those lines are the same width as a road. So it's a good example here that the curbs either side of the road, you need to be able to do a U-turn within that space. Great to find a dead end, somewhere where cars are not going to interrupt you, but you can do it on any road you'd like. It's not illegal to just U-turn, but don't do it in the middle of a junction somewhere. We can see that where the curb would be, obviously there's a road going off to the right here, but we'll use this space for a U-turn. Now, I'll come up on the left, turn round at the end and come back on the right. But obviously once we're facing the other way, the right will become our left. So what I'm going to do is come up to the road, come up to the end of the road here. Right, clutch on, rear brake. And you can use it to keep you up. There we go. So, trying this again. Let's start in a car park for a U-turn. Plenty of space, no issues. Left turn, nice and sharp. We'll hold the throttle in the same position. Clutch in one position. We don't touch them, they don't need to move. The bike's sitting there at 2000 RPM. We can control the speed of the bike with the rear brake. If I press on the rear brake, we slow down and the corner gets tighter. If I find that I start to slip or I start to fall one way, I can just let off the brake. The bike will want to go and stand up. We're okay. There's no worry about dropping it. Off the brake and the bike will speed up. On the brake, the bike will slow down and we can perform tighter corners. Coming up the road, we want to do a U-turn at the end here. So, curb on the left. We'll move over to the left. Nice and slow. Clutch just past the biting point. Throttle out so we can maintain that RPM. Now, feathering the rear brake, we can maintain the speed of the bike. Look round, look where you want to go. Keep the bike pointed where you want to go. And that's it. Now, I was on full lock there, and when you're doing your test, the lines will be a little bit wider than this. They give you plenty of room, lots of room to be able to manoeuvre. You don't have to worry about being full lock. But most of that control for your bike comes from that rear brake. You'd think it's throttle and clutch, but if you become snappy with it, the bike will do all sorts of things that you don't expect. So the best thing for slow control is to leave those in the same position. Find a nice RPM that you're comfortable with and use your rear brake to control the bike. So, I'll just explain the corner again. We're at the corner, so looking both ways, we're moving out of the industrial estate now. You use the same principle for a U-turn as you do pulling away at a corner. Clutch out, find the bite point, hold the rear brake, get a nice RPM that you're comfortable with so the bike's not going to stall. Let off the rear brake, double check either way, and then the bike will move. Now you can let the clutch out, bring your foot back onto the foot peg and move away. It's the same principle for U-turns. Right, let's do a U-turn here. Indicator on, check there's nothing around. Make sure you're not going to obstruct anyone's way. Over to the left hand side, clutch out, throttle on, rear brake. We're doing a U-turn. Check behind you, make sure it's safe to pull away and continue. Indicator off. Not too difficult once you've practiced it. Now, I would say don't lean into it. There is a slight amount of lean involved even at slow speeds. So don't be afraid. Don't think you need to stay 100% upright. But also don't lean into it like you're doing 60 miles an hour. There's that sweet spot and practice helps you find that. Now, the rule of looking where you want to go, not where your bike is facing, is one of the best things to remember. Because you will always go where you're looking. If you look round the corner to where the furthest you can see on the corner, That's where you should be looking. Same for U-turns. You're going to be going behind you, so all the time you want to be looking over your shoulder, not at the handlebars. Over your shoulder, looking the way you want to go, not where you are. If you're looking right in front of your wheel or at your handlebars, you're not going to be seeing what's ahead. Same for this corner, we're looking round the corner. What's coming round? Are there any potential obstructions? Is there anything on the road? Not right in front of us. There's too many things happening right in front for us to be able to process that. So we look up the road, we can deal with that information much easier. And same for turning on the corners. Now, I hope that's helped. I hope that's helped people, and if you have any issues or if you have any points to make, please make them in the comments. Always welcome constructive feedback, you name it. If it helped you, let me know. Any pointers that you found out whilst practicing yourself. This is all information that you need to know to be able to do your CBT and your full motorcycle test. So remember, clutch control, throttle control, brake control, rear brake. Don't touch your front brake, not at slow speed. Touching your front brake will make the bike want to pop down and fall over. Practice, 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 and keep practicing. Once you've passed your test, practice some more. Keep practicing no matter what. Don't think, hey, I've passed my test, I don't need to practice anymore. Well, motorcycling is a craft. You need to know what's happening on the road at all times. You need to constantly improve. You need to make sure that your skills are constantly getting better. If you have any feedback on the video, you noticed anything wrong, or you have any tips and pointers that you've picked up yourself that you'd like to share with other people, then make sure to put it in the comments section at the bottom of the video. For now though, enjoy riding, have fun, and remember, practice makes perfect, and no one's perfect. You just gotta keep practicing. With motorcycling, it is a skill that you'll always be improving. Way after you passed your full motorcycle test, you'll still be improving. There's still things to learn all the time. And remember that. No one's perfect. There's going to be something that somebody somewhere is not happy with their riding skill. And there are always new courses coming out, always things to do to help improve your riding ability. That might be a police ride safe course. I've done one myself. They teach you excellent cornering skills, things to know, how to approach corners at different speeds, and if you have the opportunity to do one, I recommend you do. I did mine with the Norfolk Police, and yeah, it's a fantastic day. Very tiring, but you will learn a lot. It's well worth the money. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the name fully, but I think it's Eye2Eye Motorcycle Training. They do a lot of courses as well, look those up. Also off-road biking. I'm not sure about course-wise with those, but I do recommend that you sign yourself up for an experience day. Find out how bikes handle in the mud when it's slippery. And also, if you find yourself wondering about certain things, research. Get yourself on YouTube. Put in whatever it is that you're having issues with. Just do a search for it. No doubt somebody has done a video somewhere on every part of motorcycling. I'm just offering my 2 cents on it. So have fun. Oh, and one more thing. If you want more motorcycle videos, training videos and general maintenance, make sure to subscribe, turn the bells on, and yeah, I try to upload videos as often as possible. See you later. We're coming up to the end of the road. We need to perform our U-turn. Over to the left side. It'll give us as much room as possible. Imagine the curbs are the white lines for the test. We're right over to as far as we can go. Clutch in, rear brake, keeping the throttle and the clutch in the same position, so we've got some room to move. I didn't do that one.